Tonight, the topics have to do with resilience. So we've had messages about Joseph and how he persevered through. We have had messages about grieving, about Sabbath, about not quitting, and about why bad things happen. So we're going to go through today. So start doing that. We have a few primer questions, and we're going to hear from our panelists a little bit about themselves. And then, what is the grossest thing you've ever eaten? So introduce yourself, something interesting about you besides the food thing, and then what is the grossest thing that you've ever eaten? Who wants to go first?
I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Markeisha Cluth. Interesting thing about me, out of high school, I went to auto mechanic school, so I used to work on cars, but now I'm a hairstylist. And the grossest thing I probably have ever eaten is, have you guys ever heard of chitlins or pig feet?
Have you
So
eaten?
chitlins are pig intestines. So pretty gross.
Like Fear Factor, yeah.
Yes.
I'm Greg, and interesting thing about me. When I found out I'm having another grandson. So cool. You got like those little sonogram photos, so those are fun to see. So that's cool. Is it grossest thing I've ever eaten now? Any raw tomato.
Okay. So you don't like any salsa?
Oh,
Something
I
like
don't
that?
mind salsa and stuff. It depends on really fresh salsa. The
Yeah.
stuff grown-ups actually should like. No. But,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm Sydney. Interesting fact. I played softball at UNO for 5 years. We met. And craziest thing I've eaten would be chicken feet, but it was really good. So I don't like mushrooms, so I'll say
I
mushrooms.
disagree, but that's, yeah.
My name is Femi Awodele. Interesting thing about me, I travel a lot, and the things, I don't eat what I don't know, but many years ago in Nairobi, there's a restaurant called Carnivore, and they will bring different types of meat, and you taste different type of meat. So that seems to be my comfort, or extreme of my comfort zone.
Very good. I'm excited because each person on this panel has a story, and they might share parts of it tonight, and it has to do with them not quitting and being resilient, even though things have come their way that they probably wouldn't have chosen. So we're going to dive right into it. There's a few questions, and you guys actually can look at them as well if you wanted to join on the Slido.com. You're welcome to. But one of the primer questions is about grit. Grit, like being resilient, doing the hard thing. Can someone share about a season in their life when you wanted to quit something that God had called you to, and what helped you stay faithful during that time? A season in your life where you wanted to quit something God had called you to, and then what helped you stay faithful during that time?
So I know you've been talking about grit or resilience, but I like to explain it before I share one or two in my life. For me, resilience is you have a value, and that value is stretched, but it keeps coming back to the same original value system. Kind of like your hairband. It has an original state. When you pull it, it comes back. That's resilience, coming back to the original. A couple of times in my life, I'm married 34 years. But 5 years into marriage, I wanted out of it. And that's one aspect that I was resilient based on the principles of God. And now, 34 years later, my kids actually were here a long time ago. Then the second thing that I'll say about being resilient in my life is, so I went into full-time ministry. I'm not a pastor. I like the title of brother. And 4 years into it, I wanted to quit too. Actually, for me, quitting was not because it was not successful. I had major success. What I didn't like was what I was seeing. You know, when you see ministry, you have an imagination of everything is like heavenly, but it wasn't. So then somebody came to speak here. I used to attend here, and his name was David Ravenhill. And he and I became very good friends, even up till today. And he was able to help me navigate ministry. Like I help a lot of people navigate ministry today. So those are two instances I kind of remember.
Very good. Very good. Anybody else want to share on that one? A season in your life you wanted to quit.
I guess mine's more like quitting before getting started. But as I gave my life to Jesus at 20 in college. So I kind of was, on fire for a few months after, and kind of carried that into my next season of softball. But I was vocal about my own faith, but I didn't really know how to express it or encourage others in it yet. And so I felt called at the beginning of our softball season to start a Bible study, but our team wasn't very Jesus-based. So I had a lot of nerves and fear with that. And it took me a few weeks to kind of get the courage to send a message to people. But once I did, it went extremely well. And God has moved so much into not only our team, but the friends that I have now in the community that I've been able to keep past college and past sports and all those things. God has truly been faithful in showing up in not only my walk through it, but everyone else's walk through it as well. It's really cool to see.
I'll go real general. And this is going to be funny, but I mean it seriously. I want to quit almost everything. Anytime it becomes a little hard, I'm not even talking about ridiculously hard. Every single sermon I write now, I'm like, ugh, I got to do that. Oh. And I'm just aware of it's going to take effort, and I'm going to have to try and stuff, and I'm being absolutely serious. It's really annoying to my wife, and I'm aware of it. And to some degree, I lean into that and annoy her on purpose. So I think she's kind of like, you're speaking again? Dang it. I'm going to be a moody little child for a bit.
Yeah, good. All right, we have questions coming in. The top question right now has 10 likes. And not everyone has to answer every question, so let's just take a few minutes on each one. What's the difference between being honest about your emotions and being ruled by them? What's the difference between being honest about your emotions and being ruled by them?
I think your emotions are information. They're just data, and depending on how you assess them, sometimes they're also kind of iffy data. There's something, so it should inform something. If you're feeling anxious about something, it's possible that you can just kind of think about it and ask yourself, why am I anxious? And identifying that sometimes can help. But anxiousness isn't the only information involved. And so you may look at that and then, or experience that, but assess your emotion against whatever the need is or whatever you've committed to or whatever it is, and decide, I know I feel this way, but this commitment I made is more important than how I'm feeling right now. So, and sometimes there are those times that the emotion genuinely is more important than whatever you've committed to. But as you mature, I have found that those become less and less. But the more self-aware I get, the more honest I am about those emotions as I enter into things.
Yeah. How many of you are pretty emotional people? Pretty emotional? You are? Nice. Okay. Anybody else want to take a crack at that one?
I would say being ruled by your emotions is kind of reacting. Like, how are you reacting to them? Are you, like you said, they're the thoughts, right? So you have these thoughts, and I just got told by some friends how I say things sometimes, and my friends tell me what I said, and I go, I said that? I apologize. And they go, oh, you're just saying what's on your mind. Sometimes I just say the things that I should just probably keep to myself. So letting my emotions rule me sometimes is when things are, going and working and I'm busy, and I might just say some things rather than just controlling my thoughts. So I would say being ruled by your emotions is not taking the time to, like you said, to really think about them, dissect them, and decide whether or not you need to react on them, whether physically, verbally, or just keep it to yourself and think on it, pray on it, and a lot of times it goes away, especially depending on each emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
So your emotion is a product of hormone. And your hormone is a product of what you see from your five senses, or what comes into you from your five senses. And what happens is your body releases certain hormone to deal with certain things based on your emotion. And sometimes your personality affects that. One of the things you're going to have to learn as you become an adult is how not to let your hormone rule you, how to manage it. And I'm sure Pastor Isaiah will teach on that soon. Or you can go see a professional. But once you become a Christian, Romans 12 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this way, the Holy Spirit that is now in you help you start to manage it. It doesn't mean you're not going to display who you are emotionally. That is being authentic. But you don't have to learn so that it doesn't rule over you, so that you rule over it with the help of the Spirit. That's what, if you read Romans 7, Romans 8, that is what Paul said there.
We're kind of approaching it from a negative point of view, too. I think there are things that we count as positive emotions, like you can overcommit yourself because you want to be involved. I don't know, whatever reason, people overcommit themselves and not following necessarily the high or FOMO or whatever else that would cause you to overcommit. So it's making wise choices even on that side, too. So.
Yeah. So there's good emotions, and then there's emotions that can lead you to make choices that are not good. Yeah. But emotions inherently are not bad. Yeah. All right. This question has gotten 13 votes, and it says, I give of myself to help others, and I don't get the same help and support back. I am tired of being the one to always show up for people. How do I get through this? Sounds like somebody is constantly being asked to do things, to support somebody, and they feel drained. How do they respond to that pull from people around them?
Okay, this is what happens when you ask a speaker to on a panel. So there's a big difference to me between humanism and bearing fruit. When you start to do good or do what you think is good for whatever reason, based on, I need to help people, you will get tired. That's just normal human being. You will get tired. But if you're bearing fruit, what is the difference? Jesus said in John 15, a branch can do nothing except it abides. Verses 4 and 5. Then when you abide, you automatically bear fruit. And when you are bearing fruit, you don't get tired because you are doing it as unto the Lord. Like I said, I've been married a long time. And many times, trust me, when you do things in marriage, your spouse doesn't reciprocate. And you get mad. But then you quickly remember, whatever, I'm doing it as unto the Lord. Actually, the word agape, some of you have heard about it. Agape means to love unconditionally. There you go. So if you are doing things for Christ, you do it as unto the Lord. Now, as a human being, I like people to do for me, but as a believer, I have to always remind myself, whatever I'm doing unto Him, and He is the one that will reward me.
Is there ever a point where somebody's taking so much that there needs to be like a boundary set, or, some sort of differentiating of this is not a friendship that I want to continue?
I'm a big believer in standing up for yourself, of course, in a loving way. So, you know, being a people pleaser, I think it's a personality trait. Some people just want to give their all to help people, and sometimes it becomes unbalanced where you're doing most of it. But at a point in yourself where you feel like you've been taken advantage of, I think you should communicate. Communication is key to build friendships, to have a marriage, to have a community. You have to communicate your feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. And I believe in doing it face to face. Like I run a salon, and I don't like to do a lot of texting, group texting, saying, if I'm having an issue with the salon, I find texting a little passive aggressive rather than being able to look somebody in the eye and explain to, even if I have to do it to each person, I prefer to do that. It's more work for me rather than just doing a quick text. But I do believe that there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be unbalance in relationships. But all you have to do is when you're starting to feel that way, you have to communicate it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that person's going to receive it. So you have to be also prepared for that. Like maybe they may not think that. So you have to be able to be prepared for that. But I think communication and standing up for yourself, don't let people take advantage of you.
Yeah. Yeah, to love people unconditionally does not mean that you're a doormat, but you are self-sacrificing. You're willingly, you know. Yeah, good. Okay, this one, let's see. Let's do, how do you handle arguments maturely? How do you handle arguments maturely? We have a couple of good questions in a row here. Anybody have any good experience with arguments?
I've never argued in my entire life.
Liar.
You got something to say about that? Anyway, a ton. I'm trying to organize that. I shouldn't have picked up the mic yet. Really key, if you care, if you just like to argue, that's on you. That's not. I hope at some point you figure out that's not a value, and that is going to hinder you in life. Even if you think, well, I'm really good at this. You may be, but you're going to find your superpower in it when you learn to control it, when you learn to give it, put it in places that it actually does something. At some point, I realized I was hurting people in the way I was talking and the way I was communicating. And I sort of saw it as a value. I was like, this is good. I'm helping people get and understand things, but I'm closing them off in the way that I'm doing it. So owning your side, both positive and negative. I kind of lean toward the negative there, but and really think it through. What's the chance you're wrong? It's easy to think about if you're right, but what's the chance you're wrong? Listen if possible. One of the most brilliant things I ever did in the middle of an argument with my wife is, I'm telling you, this is brilliant. And it will work with your parents, and it doesn't matter who it is. But it needs to be sincere and true, is partway through our conversation, I realized I was wrong. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I'm really sorry. One, I'm wrong. And I've been wrong this entire time, and I just realized it. And asked for forgiveness, and it was super weird because she was like still kind of ready to go, and I'm like, no, I'm not trying to remove power from you. You seriously, I'm wrong. I can't argue with you anymore because I completely agree. Yeah. And so it was just particularly important to do that. My final statement will be, in any ongoing kind of conflict or something like that, clarify the question you're actually arguing about. And if it switches off that, then try and somehow just stick to the one thing you're actually talking about. It's really hard, but I'm telling you, once you guys are, if you're talking even with a group, once you start using the same language with each other and meaning the same things by it, you often find yourself agreeing on more than you disagree.
Yeah. Let's jump to this one. It says, my parents and I are always at odds. Sounds like they're always not getting along. I know God wants me to obey them, but what do I do if they provoke me or if I struggle with their expectations of me? And I think they're referring to the scripture. It says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. But then it says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. So there's an expectation of parents, and there's an expectation of children. So those of you who are parents, what would you say? What do I do if they provoke me or if I struggle with their expectations of me?
One of the few command in the Bible with reward is when you honor your parents. Bible says there's going to be a reward to that. So there is something about honoring your parents. Paul also wrote that parents should not exasperate. Exasperate means to provoke or annoy. Just finished teaching 8 weeks on parenting, actually. And one of the things, especially for those of you, because my class is full of immigrants, for those of you who have first generation or immigrant parents, the way we were raised is very, very different. We don't argue, we tell you what to do, and a lot of those things. And when you're being raised in a country like this, it's a culture like this is very different. And sometimes your parents are very rigid because they see it as American culture, not as other things. So the first thing, so your question to me is, or here is, what do I do? What you do is you talk to your parents. If you think that your parents are not receiving from you, talk to your pastor. Maybe your pastor can talk to your parents. Many times, parents just need to change. When I was teaching on this particular topic, there are two things God commands us parents to do: to teach you and to discipline you. To teach you and discipline you. And discipline is not punishment. Actually, punishment does not come into discipline. Discipline, consequences maybe, yes, but that consequences is not to break a child. But a lot of parents don't know that. So if you are trying, don't get frustrated. Remember that they have their own thing. Talk to your pastor, talk to somebody who can talk to them, and hopefully they can realize how to talk to you, but don't disrespect them. Don't do that. Don't do that because in Scripture that comes with reward and consequences. So don't bring that on yourself.
Good. Thank you.
I can say my son, he's 19. Him and I are pretty much at this level right now in life where, you know, I had to let go because now he's going into adulthood, and I think my expectations of him were what I saw, and he just needed some breathing room I remember God telling me, you have to give him to me. Like, let him want me, not try to force it on him. So I had to take a step back. And him saying, talk to your parents, do not disrespect them, it's completely true. Because when my son came and talked to me and said, Mom, you're doing this and you're doing that, as a parent, a loving parent, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to respect him. It may not be in that moment sometimes. Maybe in the moment when everything is heated, we may have to wait and come back and talk. There's nothing wrong with that. Your parents love you. They want to hear your thoughts, right? So even if you have a hard time articulating it, because I get my son is very well at articulating himself, sometimes too well, and that makes me mad because I feel like he's trying to trick me, but that's not what he's doing. He's just the way we communicate. So I would say write it down, or maybe if it's you and your mom, maybe you talk to your dad and have your dad help you, or if it's to articulate your feelings. I know for me, my husband is not my son's father, so he has helped us in our disagreements to kind of be that middle person to communicate what he hears and what he sees we're going through. So I'm very thankful for that. So
It's good. It's good. All right. There's two questions about grief here, and we had a message on grief if you want to go back and listen to it, if you missed that. It's a very difficult thing. All of us will face a season of grief. But it's kind of a two-part then. This person says, I've had a lot of people around me pass away recently. How can I trust God during this season of loss? And the other question has to do with grief that I'll just mix in is, what does it truly mean to grieve with hope without minimizing real pain? So basically, how can this person specifically trust God during this season of loss? How can we handle grief? Sydney, you haven't shared in a while.
I am breaking.
Would you like to share?
Yeah. So a little bit of my story is in 2022, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And then a month later, from chemo and going into sepsis, she ended up passing. And then, so that's 2022. And then a year later, after my dad had heart surgery, he ended up passing from a heart attack, like very suddenly. So experience with grief, yes. And it's so interesting because God showed up different in both those times. With my mom, after she passed, God and people were very present. They showed up in very, very real ways, very miraculous ways that I'm super grateful for. But I kind of had that high expectation of God, and like that's how He was always going to show up, and that's what He always looked like. And then a year after, when my dad passed, it was more so crickets from God and from people. And so it was really difficult to kind of go through that season feeling like God had lifted His presence from me. And I didn't understand it at the time. I gave my life to Jesus at 20, and I'm 25 now, so I mean, a lot of things happened super quick. God took me on a roller coaster. But I was disappointed in people. I was disappointed in God. It was really hard for me to come to Him in prayer, to come to Him in any way because of this expectation that I had, and He wasn't fitting that mold, and He wasn't fitting in that box. And so for me, it really took community. Like it was seriously a grace of God, because I started going to this church during that summer after my dad passed, and I signed up for this like luncheon to meet the pastors and connect with people like a couple months before my dad passed, and then he passed, and then the lunch was a week later. So it was like making that decision to go to that and to meet people. And even though I wasn't, on talking terms with God at the moment because I was stubborn but also hurt and in pain, I came straight to people, and that's only the grace of God. And sometimes it was easier talking to, Pastor Jason and Carissa about and spilling my whole life story than maybe telling someone that I know. So I also think that you have people here, if you don't know your youth leaders that well or whoever, like there are people here who want to hear your story and want to help you or be there for you during that time if you don't feel like talking to someone who might know more of your story, because I think that's difficult sometimes. But I think that was huge for me, was community, and just really trusting in community until I moved back into God's hands from my own sinful, moving away from Him.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, Sydney. Thank you.
For me, it's a weird statement, but it's absolutely true from my point of view. Man, I love that question. How do I trust God in this? Among the reasons I love it is you're not saying you don't believe, you're actually saying you do, and that's really among the areas of struggle. Grief is something that if you haven't experienced, I don't mean this is a threat, you will at some point, and it's a universal experience. And as universal as it is, it's also unique in every single situation. So how do you trust Him? I am a fan of honest. By that question, you're saying you still actually do believe, which is the pressure point. So telling Him, this is what I'm struggling with. I'm actually angry with you. And being okay to have that. Now, if it's, I'm angry with you, therefore I'm never speaking to you again, well, you struggle within your own belief then. You're actually conflicting with yourself and your own belief system at that point. Can you trust him? What a great question. I can give you my answer, but you're the one who needs to discover that answer. I don't have an easy one. I think it is tragically beautiful and hard, and it's okay. If I had a fundamental thing, it's okay.
Yeah.
You may not feel okay right now, but where you're at, you can and will make it through. And the only path is through that.
Yeah.
So I don't mean that. Just so much love and respect for that question and situation.
Very good. Yeah.
So, one of the things, first of all, you're a strong person. So, nice meeting you. Hope in the Bible is based on what Christ already did. And hope of the world is a wish. So, if you hope your daddy will take you to Disney World, and then you hope he gets money to buy the ticket and everything. Hope in the Bible is your daddy already bought it 2,000 years ago. He's already paid and everything. You just go. So hope in the Bible is different. One of the things that makes people in the Bible be resilient in the face of grief is godly hope. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they faced the fire, they told King Nebuchadnezzar, "Oh, king, we're not going to bow, even if we die, because we know our God," because they have hope in their God. Same thing with Apostle Paul. When Apostle Paul was being jailed and when he was being persecuted, he said, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. So when you have the knowledge of the true God and you have people around you to comfort you along with the Holy Spirit, which is what she experienced, you have that hope. That hope that, you know what, he's already done it. It's not something that he's going to do. He's already done it, and he's going to help me through this journey.
Yeah. And I'll remind you, too, we have that message on grief on YouTube, so go check that out if you missed it. So this question is for all of us to answer briefly, but I think there's a lot of people in here who at some point in their life have experienced depression, anxiety. Someone said they feel like they're drowning every day. But what makes you wake up and not give up and quit every day? What's just something simple that you look forward to when you wake up? Keeps you going. For me, it's my kids. My kids wake me up. I got 4 of them. So for me, I'm like, man, I have to keep going because they need an example.
After my parents passed, and I think you've talked about this a lot too throughout this year, but it can be, you can have a suicidal ideation of not wanting to be here on earth. After my parents passed, I'm like, all right, I love my people. I love, this earth, but I also want to be with them, in a very crazy way. And it really took, some time in thinking but I am here for a reason. But what am I here for? And I think everyone's story is different. Everyone has their individual way that God has brought you to where you are, and you have a story that can meet someone where they are. Mm-hmm. If I wouldn't have gone what I've gone through, I wouldn't be able to have been there for my friends who had their parents passed, anyone who experiences any type of loss. So God brings you through it for a reason, and you're still here for a reason. So what can you do here on earth while you are here on earth?
Yeah, so many layers, man. For a reason, I'll agree and say it's also whatever happened didn't happen so that you then could have a conversation. Yeah. It's something happened. Is there going to be anything useful come out of this, or just a big scar, whether it's emotional or physical or however it goes? so much of my young life, I don't have great words for that. I'm gonna be honest. It sucked. It was terrible. I didn't know a different way. I didn't know anything else. And people died and people left and got moved around and everything else. And I'm just a raging little kid. My first realization and kind of self-awareness was 8th grade. And I think I've talked about this before, but not to put ideas, but that was when I realized I was depressed, and I didn't have words for that. It was, it was before it was okay to have these kind of stuff and experience this. But it's honestly been a lifelong sort of cyclical thing, depending on whether or not I'm maintaining my life, and and so I really need to pay attention to that. But it also leads me to have less value. I value certain types of emotions, such as negative emotions. Well, I don't want to get up today. Okay, let's get up. Because I don't want to get up today isn't useful to me. It's not. If on the day I say it's a Saturday and I don't have a reason to get up and I just stay there, well then 3 in the afternoon and I'm like, well, I suck. Apparently that's my word tonight. I don't want to feel that way, so I think I'm going to get up now. Do I feel sad? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes do I feel particularly and deeply sad and not sure how to manage it? Yep, but I found that getting up and doing something generally helps. And so, anyway.
Yeah. And there's all the kinds of things, man. Like Miss Naomi and I were just learning some things this week, but I've had students come up to me and tell me that they're depressed, and then I find out that they're not sleeping. They're staying up on their phone till 6 a.m. I'm like, well, I'd be depressed too. I'm scrolling. My mind is just constantly needing to be stimulated, and I'm not sleeping. Man, the answer to your question might be you need to sleep. You need
I
to
haven't
put your
eaten in
phone
a week
across the
or
room.
whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So I would talk to somebody who's wise, that knows you, and just really be honest about your life, because it might not be that, man, something's wrong with me. It's, man, you need to get some sleep, you need to eat the right foods, you need to take care of yourself and abide with the Lord. It might be simple as that, All right, we are about 5 minutes away from having our table discussions. Thank you all for sharing so far. So in 5 minutes, let's get a couple more questions here. Let's see. How do you control your reactions when your emotions feel overwhelming? Any quick advice on how to control your reactions when you want to flip out, when you want to rage?
Space. Find space. If you're capable, find space. That's it.
Find some space.
I would say be honest with how you're feeling. Like I know when my heart's beating really fast, like I'm ready to flip. So I know that about myself. I'm old enough to know how my body reacts. So because I've been through it in the past, I have to be honest with myself and know that, okay, I'm getting to that point. So get some space, walk away, pray about it, maybe go breathe, go take some deep breaths. So just being honest with how you're feeling, how your emotions are building up. And because that's the best way to deal with what you're going through, is being honest with how your body's reacting to it. So if you know you're going from 0 to 100 and you're at 99, what's going to happen once you hit 100? You're probably going to, what do you guys call it, crash out? You're going to crash out. So instead of crashing out, walk away. There's nothing wrong with walking away, getting some space. So, yeah.
I remember we were playing basketball with some Christian dudes, and somebody got real mad, and he just disappeared. He just left. And at first I was like, that's weird. Why would you do that? You're a grown man. Just go talk to somebody. But he was removing himself from the situation so he would not do something dumb. So I respected that.
Whatever, especially if you make a dumb choice, whatever dumb choice you make in that moment, future years you're going to have to deal with the consequences of. And so think a little bit ahead if you can. I know it's hard.
Yeah. Here's another one. People say they need help, but they push you out when you try to help. What do you do in that case? People say they need help, but they push you out when you try to help. What do you do in that case? Just a quick response to this one.
So to understand that question, somebody needs help, But when you try to help them, they push you back. What do? You take a step back, or you, how do I'm kind of confusing in what you do. Anybody else want to have an idea there? But on a more serious note, if I'm dealing with an adult that doesn't want my help, I step back.
Yeah.
That's what I do if it's an adult. And same thing with, and I've discovered that you cannot help people who don't want help. You will just be going around in circles. When they realize the need for help, then they'll help you. Or sometimes you see the problem, but they don't see the problem. Maybe that's what's happening. You see their problem, they don't see it, and you want to help something they've not seen. So
Very good. Well said. All right. Last couple here. How do you avoid speaking negatively about others in an environment that encourages it? Which I think a lot of us are in those environments, so you can find it easily at school. How do you avoid speaking negatively about others in an environment that encourages it? One thing that I've done is when people are gossiping around me, is I'll actually say something nice about the person people are gossiping about. So I'm not correcting them. I'm not confronting them. I'm saying, like, Redican's actually kind of cool. And they're like, oh, yeah, but he's always talking about nerdy stuff. And I'm like, he's weird. Like, yeah, but he's kind of cool. I like him, you know.
I would agree to that. Yeah, just being positive, saying positive things. It might even change the whole mood of the whole atmosphere.
by the way, having that is a mindset that you can develop.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see. Everyone just says, trust in the Lord, trust in the Lord. But how do you actually trust in the Lord? A quick one on this one.
So I didn't give my life to the Lord till I was 32 years old. I wasn't raised in the church. I didn't come to anything like this. So it was all new to me. But I was an adult. But being born again, it felt like I was starting all over. But my eyes were open. So to that last question where we're talking about depression, I would say waking up being thankful. I'm very thankful for where I'm at now, like extremely. So waking up, I'm alive, right? But I'm so sorry. What was the question again?
At one point, the question disappeared. Yeah, what is
Trust
it
in the
actually?
Lord.
How do you actually trust in the Lord?
So I when people used to tell me just pray through things, you're not going to see it just like that. But now, let's see, I was 33 now. I'm older. I'm in my 40s. So what I've learned is walking through those things, even when it's hard and it feels like it's just never going to get any better, then you go through something else, and then God gets you through it. You're trusting in the Lord because every time you're praying through something, even though it may not change that day or that week or maybe even that month, it eventually gets better because you're seeking God, you're asking for this. And even if it doesn't change, you get stronger through it. He gives you strength because you're praying for strength. You're praying for things to get better. And so when the next thing comes along, it just gets easier. Each difficult time that you have, what I found is it really does just get easier. And now I've always just had this childlike faith because I just know that even getting saved at 32, 33 was crazy because I was already stuck in my life the way I was living it, and to see Christians come up to me and say, oh, you should do this, you do that, it just didn't resonate with me because it wasn't my life. But then I just went all in, and it was just life-changing. So trusting in the Lord is like a discipline. It's something you have to do, and you have to trust, and you have to have that faith and know that, and wait and watch for it, and watch the change, and watch the blessing that comes with what God wants to do through you, and to show you. He wants to show you with your obedience.
Yeah.
So faith and trust are actually different. So faith is that chair. I'm just coming here for the first time. I'm being told to sit. I don't know if this chair is going to take me, if it's going to fall down while I'm sitting on it. But I have the faith that it's going to carry me. And I sit and, I'm okay. When I come tomorrow and day after tomorrow and day after tomorrow, Now I trust that chair to carry me.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Now, trust is teachable, but trust comes more from experiential. And people who trust, when you look at the Bible, that's why God told them to have memorials, to do all these ceremonies, do all this one, have this ceremony, have Passover ceremony. They have like 7 different things that they do. And the reason they do that is to teach what God has done. Memorial is not to have sales at NFM or whatever. Memorial is to remember how God has taught what God did for us. That's one way to grow in trust. The other way is to experience it yourself. How many of you trust your parent? If your parents say, don't worry. Don't raise your hand. But the reason you trust your parent is if daddy and mommy say, I'm going to be at your game, and he's there, will you trust him?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Why do you trust him? Because he showed up. Now, if you have a parent that says, I'm going to be at your game, and don't show up, will you trust that parent? No. So, trust comes from experiencing things. And many times in life, trust will come in somebody teaching you that this is what God has done, he can do it again, and then you experiencing it in your life and say, I trust God.
That's good.
And I know we're at time, but so they don't show up to your game, you don't trust them. You may not trust them to show up at your next game. If you globalize that and say, then I don't trust they're going to pay the mortgage and, we're going to get kicked out of our house or they're never going to feed me again, you're misunderstanding all the data here. You actually aren't distrusting them. You just got information that pointed you to being able to kind of narrow down your trust into specific things. But how do you trust God? What's your other option? If you believe, then that's where we're at. You're just continuing to figure out a relationship with him, and that's totally okay. So back to talk to people. Read this Bible and talk to people about what it means, because it may not be that simple.
All right. We never talked about one topic. So to close this time, I want to ask you real quick, just within a few seconds, we talked about Sabbath. Gabe did a good job about teaching what it means to stop, reflect, delight, and there's another step. I forgot, Gabe, whatever that was. But to enjoy God and to take a break. And a lot of times our life falls apart because we don't pause. We're just so busy all the time. And maybe busy on good things, but it just is so overwhelming. What's one practical way you've learned to slow down, whether it's spending intentional time with God or just taking a break? What's something that you do to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed and you might Sabbath?
I like to take walks with no music or podcast playing because I'm usually a music or podcast person. So walks in nature, and then also with silence, driving kind of in silence and just thinking and slowing down my mind.
I found certain video games wind me up, and being honest about that, and then seeing the effects of it and things like that. So then second, even more important, was actually me coming home wound and seeing and finally recognizing what, I hopefully this doesn't sound silly, recognizing what me being wound, just emotionally wound, nothing, not doing physically doing anything wrong, but how it affected my dog. For the first time, my dog is super empathetic and stuff, so if I come home wound, I haven't even spoken to her, but she's over on the couch away from me, and I, some reason, recognized that and had this thought, no, nothing should be that afraid simply because I'm having thoughts about things.
Is it because you slammed the door?
Or
you
it
yelled
could,
at her?
or not even
Yeah.
that. It could be that. That
Yeah.
would be a worse one. But maybe I'm just still occupied in whatever I was going on, or it doesn't matter what it was. But I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm a pretty, even though I don't jump, I'm hyper inside. So, and realizing the thing that was affecting her led me to begin to really purposefully try to figure out how to calm down and really take breaths because her living, how her life was being experienced became really important to me.
Yeah. Keisha, Brother Femi.
Since I understood the definition of the peace of God, life has been really easy. Doesn't matter what's going on. So even now I take naps. So that's my own.
Take a nap.
That Sabbath is really hard for me because I feel like if I'm not moving, then I'm being lazy. I'm not being a good person, that I have to stay busy. But I don't know which one of you guys preached on how it's bad not to take rest, and that was the first time really hearing it, where now I truly look at Sunday, because Sunday was, it's my day off, but I can get all this stuff done. It's almost like sneaking it in. But now I really just rest. I just take it easy anyway. And sometimes maybe I will cook dinner because I'm so busy during the week, but I really do try to enjoy not doing anything, turning off my phone and just taking it easy.
And I'm in a season of like hustling right now with different things. And so I haven't been able to rest as much, but I will eventually. You might be in a season where you're hustling a lot. But in the good seasons, or the seasons where I have everything structured, I eat food that I like. So I'm not eating leftovers. I'm delighting in what God has created. And then I'm not responding to people who drain me. So I might leave somebody unread or be like, hey, I'll respond to you tomorrow. I'm not looking at my emails. So for you might not be doing school, but you make sure you get your stuff done so you can have rest, whether it's a Sunday or Saturday or whatever that is. So